The following is a presentation of the Pro Wrestling Report. Informative, entertaining, and real since 1998.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
To scratch and major itch. So enjoy your fruity pebbles, you yabba dabba bitch.
The God Almighty! They've killed him! And CM Punk, and I am the voice of the voiceless.
Be the man. You gotta beat the man.
Woo, woo, woo. You know it.
I got okie doke by Little Jimmy.
Live from the Pro Wrestling Report studios in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. This is Monday Night Meltdown with your hosts, Damian Nelson and David Hero.
I'm proud to say we're doing things the Vince McMahon way.
That's the bottom line. What? Cause Stone Cold said so.
Bringing you all the latest news and views from professional wrestling. Monday Night Meltdown is on the air.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report and Monday Night Meltdown. Damian Nelson here along with David Octavius the Tiberius, the alleged one-time Backyard Hall of Famer hero, on a night where the Royal Rumble took more shape, on a night where we saw a wrestling star get sent out in an ambulance, and on a night where things became a lot more clear in the WWE Championship picture. Thank you for joining us here on Monday Night Meltdown, exclusively live on Blog Talk Radio. As I said, I'm your host, Damian Nelson, being joined here by David Hero. Later in the program, we're going to be joined by the rest of the Pro Wrestling Report broadcast team. And you can join us as well in the phone zone when we get to the phones in just a few minutes. The number, 877-317-9772. Again, 877-317-9772. And, Dave, let's first go into what happened to end WWE Raw tonight, and that was Johnny Ace, John Laurinaitis, not participating in the matchup that he accepted earlier on with CM Punk due to a fax received from WWE headquarters, but still being put in the go-to-sleep by Punk, who was then attacked by the endorsed Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah, I don't know if that was the right scenario for Punk, was to put his hands on Johnny Ace. I mean, if he's the babyface, shouldn't he get him down the road after he costs him the title, if that's the route they're going to go? Or maybe he gives it to him on Monday when he gets fired. I thought it was pretty interesting that babyface gets over on the heel, and then all Dolph Ziggler gets is his zigzag finisher in the end.
Yeah, well, this was really the first time we saw CM Punk be able to get his hands on John Laurinaitis. So it seemingly made sense going into the Rumble, and especially with what Laurinaitis said last week about how he did indeed plan to screw CM Punk out of that WWE Championship. But that fax that we referenced a moment ago, we found out that the WWE Board of Directors is reviewing John Laurinaitis' role as the Assistant Interim General Manager, or whatever his title is, to Raw, and that review will happen formally next week on Raw in the middle of the ring with Triple H. Now, the one thing that's been clear is John Laurinaitis seemingly, at least from storyline purposes, values his position and feels that he is doing the right thing. We've been on this road several times. I think the fact that CM Punk finally gets his hands on Laurinaitis tonight maybe knock some sense into him. Maybe this fax is going to get him to second guess or think again about what he has planned to do at Sunday's Royal Rumble. It left some intrigue, David Hero, and I really think the key to that whole end segment was Ziggler and the fans at home being reminded about Dolph Ziggler and his participation in that main event matchup coming this Sunday at the Royal Rumble.
Has there ever been a number one contender that has gotten as little TV time as Dolph Ziggler has? I mean, yeah, he opened up in the main event, and by the time the end of the show comes along, you forgot about that.
I don't think so, because you got to remember, Dolph Ziggler's beaten CM Punk some 3 or 4 times over the last few weeks. Dolph Ziggler, one of the highlights of Raw last week. Dolph Ziggler, again, being put in a prominent role tonight. I wouldn't say that he's been focused on less than he should be in regard to what we've seen in the past. I will say this, though. The focus has definitely been on Punk and Laurinaitis in this whole storyline, but Dolph Ziggler is good fodder, if you will.
Right, and see, and that's kind of what makes me think, well, you know what, we're kind of forgetting about Dolph Ziggler being in this type of picture. It's basically been Johnny Ace and Punk. I don't know, the last time, the spotlight was taken off a contender in a title match that I can think of was a triple threat between Ken Anderson, Sting, and Jeff Hardy. Mm-hmm. We all thought it was going to be Ken Anderson and Kurt Angle. I'm sorry, it was Ken and Kurt. And then Jeff Hardy, comes in there and sneaks out with the title. But I wouldn't be surprised if Dolph Ziggler leaves the Rumble as the new E champion, and then Johnny Ace and Punk do their thing at WrestleMania.
Dolph Ziggler is a formidable contender for the WWE Championship, and tonight we saw a little bit of a different attitude, if you will, in Dolph Ziggler. He did some things in the ring that were uncharacteristic of him, not from a wrestling standpoint, but from a showboat standpoint, which is like, I've already endorsed him, so I know how great he is, but he proved again tonight just how great he is. But let's not forget 1 year ago, he had a main event matchup at the Royal Rumble as well for the World Heavyweight Championship against Edge, where the spear was banned, spear ultimately used, and Ziggler is... David, I'm not ready to say he's going to walk out of the Rumble as the WWE champion, but he definitely could, because I'm not sure if CM Punk needs that WWE championship. And I wonder as well if there are some pockets of fans who are beginning to see CM Punk for what he really is. And I'm not going to say anything more about that at this point, but if you pay close enough attention to CM Punk and what he does and what he says, I think that his behavior at times could alienate a lot of wrestling fans, and I think that some of those pockets are growing. Now, there's no doubt he's still getting a huge pop. There's no doubt he still has mainstream acceptance in professional wrestling. But at the same time, this attitude that he has could be detrimental to his long-term viability, which makes me wonder if he does still need that championship, or is he better chasing after it? And could the distraction of John Laurinaitis be just what was needed to cause Dolph Ziggler to walk in and become the WWE champion? Now, I'm not one who could sit here and think that Dolph Ziggler is going to go into Miami, Florida with the WWE championship around his waist, but with The Rock and Cena on the top of the card at WrestleMania, they could definitely do that.
It could be interesting. I mean, I'm torn as to how this match can go, because if they really want to have Jericho and Punk, well, maybe Punk doesn't need the title to have that match with Jericho. I don't know. There's a whole lot of stuff that's going to happen from now until Smackdown, and I think we'll have a better idea as to what direction they're going in after Smackdown on Friday. But boy, the Rumble, lots of questions. It's going to be an interesting pay-per-view.
The biggest question is just who is inside the ring for the Royal Rumble matchup. We did find out on an edition of Superstars a few weeks back that participants in individual matchups outside the Rumble would qualify to participate in the Rumble as well. However, the names actually announced for the Rumble is scarce. The assumptions are strong, but the names actually announced are scarce. And tonight we had several more names added to that list, including a reveal of who would be number one in the Royal Rumble this Sunday night. Added to the Rumble, R-Truth. Mick Foley is in. And number one, entering first, will be The Miz as a result of his loss to R-Truth in that matchup tonight.
I think that's a great spot for The Miz. I think he can shine in the Rumble coming in at 1, and I would expect him to be one of the final 5.
As you said, opening up WWE Raw tonight, there was one more entrant, by the way, and we'll talk about Chris Jericho later on in this program because it was a monumental step in his story tonight, and we'll play that clip for you of what happened during the highlight reel tonight on Raw. But it opened up with CM Punk, and really, David, the points I was making before is where these things became evident, because he was borderline obnoxious during that whole opening promo with Cena and John Laurinaitis, because I don't care that he can't hear. And he made the point to be that he couldn't hear, and then led to the wet chant. Whatever, I'm sorry. Maybe I'm reading too far into it. But Punk was focused on Ziggler in that opening promo, which got Johnny Ace out there. He goes on the hunt for Ace. Cena comes out. Cena's upset and takes a few jabs at Punk. Punk says, I'm looking for John Laurinaitis, not the Boy Scout. Demands a rematch, did John Cena, for Zack Ryder. And a match with Kane for John Cena tonight and then calls for the resignation of Laurinaitis. Now, here's the question that I had as it pertains to all of this. Why is the Boy Scout, why is John Cena coming out and demanding the rematches for Zack Ryder when Zack Ryder hasn't asked for one once?
Because it's all a way of putting all the heat on John Cena. That, they can blame Cena for all this stuff, which could eventually make him turn heel. That's all it is.
Well, Kane would decimate Zack Ryder tonight in a matchup that I felt went a little longer than it should have, but the end result was exactly where WWE wanted to take us, which was a seeming write-off of Zack Ryder off of WWE Raw as he was choke-slammed through the stage.
You know what's amazing is a healthy Zack Ryder is running away from Kane to hop in a car. But a battered and beaten Zack Ryder doesn't run away. He still goes out there and has a match with him. Just interesting how the character development or lack of has been going on, with Zack Ryder. And you know what? How depressing. I finally get the guy on my team. I'm all behind him. And now he's going to be out for, 3 weeks with a broken back, knowing how they do things around there.
Right.
So I guess I'll have to pick up somebody for Zack Ryder now.
This was set up perfectly, I thought, because before the matchup, Zack Ryder saying to John Cena, I don't need your help, I don't want you involved. And after all this goes down, John Cena comes out, he's concerned, Eve is concerned. They're trying to retrieve Zack Ryder from the hole that he had been dropped into. And at the end of that, we saw Eve tell John Cena, stay out of this. You've caused all this. You've done enough. And it led to John Cena, I guess, the whole constipated face thing we saw of him was to make us think that maybe he's second-guessing whether or not he will embrace the hate. This all done, Zack Ryder, I guess a peg in the whole game, the chess game, if you will, of John Cena and Kane going into Sunday's Royal Rumble matchup, because all this with Zack Ryder has made the Kane-Cena match that much more interesting. And Kane didn't say a word tonight. I thought he would.
Well, no, I mean, if anything, Kane had to go out there and he had to destroy Zack Ryder because, he needed to. He needed to reestablish himself as a villain. And he did that with one of the top babyfaces on Raw, going out there and just annihilating the guy. So as far as storyline purposes go, it's great. I think it's going to be interesting how this match is going to play out on Sunday. Because it's just a regular match. There's no gimmick to it. There's no last man standing. There's no chairs. There's no inferno match. It's just a regular match. You got to wonder if there's going to be a disqualification in there somewhere, if there's going to be some interference. I just can't picture Cena versus Kane being a traditional one-on-one match at the Rumble.
At this point, that is what it is announced for, though. Tonight, the match with Zack Ryder announced as a no-holds-barred match, which I guess led you to believe that there would be some shenanigans in that matchup. Again, I think it was good setup. I think it was well done, and I think it did what it needed to do. And, I wonder now at this point, and we talked about it on Primetime last week, we talked about it on the show last week, the Ryder Revolution has seemingly not as revolutionary as perhaps it was at the beginning because of the gratification of him finally winning that United States Championship. I think a lot of fans have now walked away from Zack Ryder. They're not as passionate as they was when they wanted him first on TV, then to win the championship. And now after losing last week, I'm not sure how many fans realize that he was nothing more than a chess piece in this game between John Cena and Kane.
He really was. He was, I don't want to call him the patsy, but that's almost like what he is right now.
Oswald?
Exactly. It's exactly what I'm thinking. Well, it'll be interesting. How long will a guy be out with a broken back?
Well, let's see. If we go back in the
it's
history.
not a sprained back. It's not a broken neck. It's not a broken leg. It's a broken back.
Yep. Yeah, well, we'll see how long that goes, but broken backs of the past. I mean, Randy Orton, didn't he have a broken back too? Is that what they said? And he's back this Friday on Smackdown?
Well, yeah, of course, though, because it's the big pay-per-views in his hometown.
Yes, it is. And we also...
You got to believe, Damian Nelson. You got to believe.
We saw the Funkasaurus again on Raw tonight, David Hero. And by the way, if you follow us on Facebook, if you like us on Facebook, there's another little video of you with some shenanigans after the PWR primetime taping last week. You got the interns to shoot a music video of you using Brodus Clay's theme song to get your groove on, to back it up. Really?
Well, I was getting ready for the Heroettes, and it's going to get a ton of downloads.
Doubtful. I doubt that very seriously. But anyways, on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Pro Wrestling Report. Again, that's facebook.com/Pro Wrestling Report. David Hero, tonight, Chris Jericho brought back the highlight reel. And you sort of assumed that there would again be a Jericho without words. But tonight, Jericho, after showing a video package of essentially his entire run in WWE from his countdown to the millennium in 1999 all the way through his last run some 2-3 years ago, followed it up with a statement that was received with cheers, a statement that was received as, I guess, a bit of relief because he finally spoke, but a statement that really did pose more questions than answers. Let's hear what Jericho had to say tonight on WWE Raw in the highlight reel.
This Sunday at the Royal Rumble, it's going to be the end of the world as you know it.
And it was that simple statement. This Sunday at the Royal Rumble, of which Jericho will be a part, it will be the end of the world as you know it. And Chris Jericho stating, or at least using the same statement that was used in those promos, those vignettes, if you will, prior to Jericho's return to WWE. Clearly he's got something big planned. Who's the girl? What did those vignettes really mean? What's Jericho up to? A lot of unanswered questions for this Sunday's Royal Rumble, specifically with Chris Jericho, who could win the Rumble, David Hero, and as you mentioned earlier, go into WrestleMania against a WWE champion named CM Punk.
As much as the fans love to hear him talk, he almost came across as a babyface. You know what I mean? The crowd popped when he says it's the end of the world as we know. And, of course, I got nervous that maybe they bought the rights to the REM song and that'll be his theme music to go against Punk's cult of personality. But I think they could have waited until after the Rumble to have Jericho speak for the first time.
I would disagree. I think that doing it tonight, as I said, built a bit of intrigue, gave some more importance to the Royal Rumble matchup itself, because now you sort of want to know, at least from my standpoint, you want to know what he has planned. How is the Royal Rumble this Sunday going to be the end of the world as we know it? There's a lot of intrigue, and that's what you want going into your pay-per-view this Sunday, and that's what Jericho created tonight.
Well, I think it's all pointing at one guy, and that's CM Punk. I think Punk's going to have to find a way to get through the Rumble with Johnny Ace and Dolph Ziggler and whatnot. And the money match, I guess, is Punk and Jericho, and that's where they have to build it. I think Jericho has to win the Rumble. I think he has to challenge Punk because Punk keeps saying he's the best in the world. And then, Jericho can say, hey, then they can play off the whole world gimmick there. It makes the most sense, but that means it probably won't happen.
Getting there with Jericho and Punk would be tremendous. What I mean by that is the journey to getting to that matchup, the promos, the whatever between the two would be fantastic. I'm looking forward to it if that is indeed the case. But we'll find out this Sunday at the Royal Rumble. And a couple of other matches we saw tonight on Raw. That opening matchup, or that opening segment, did turn into a tag team matchup. Jack Swagger and Dolph Ziggler versus CM Punk and John Cena. Dolph Ziggler getting the pin on CM Punk after a little bit of involvement by John Laurinaitis in that matchup. The Falls Count Anywhere match between Kane and Zack Ryder. I presume there was no winner as Ryder was taken out after that matchup. Sheamus took on Jinder Mahal, and on commentary during this particular contest was Wade Barrett. Flower and all.
Wade Barrett and Sheamus, I'm telling you, are building blocks for this company. these two guys are solid. They can talk. They're characters. They have charisma. Definitely, I feel good knowing that these two guys are building blocks.
Also, we saw The Miz versus R-Truth in the aforementioned matchup where R-Truth defeated Miz. Miz is now number 1 in the Royal Rumble on Sunday. And also, Brodus Clay versus Heath Slater. 2 endorsed talents, by the way. I think did we see all of my endorsements? We saw Miz, we saw Brodus, we saw Slater. We saw most of my endorsements this week, everything but Cody Rhodes from WWE. But about that matchup between Brodus Clay and Slater, aside from the new white jumpsuit and white ring gear on the Funkasaurus, William Regal on commentary at ringside. And while he's been doing NXT or whatever it might be online for a long time, William Regal, we, the universe, we, the fans, need some more English in our ears.
You know, Regal is just entertaining. He gets it. He's old school. He can tell his story. He can be funny and witty. He's one of the most underutilized, underrated talents that company has. And
he proved it again tonight because he was tremendous. Absolutely tremendous. And there was a time where he was, let's not forget, general manager of Raw, where he would turn the lights out frequently if he got upset, where he was on commentary. There's so many of these little pieces, I guess, that seem so obvious, but that WWE does not give us. They gave it to us tonight, and it all stemmed from that amazing segment we'll talk about later with Matthew from Smackdown this past Friday night, the dance-off with Brodus, Vicky, and William Regal, which I'm still marking out over, by the way. It was that tremendous. But that's how we got Regal on Raw tonight. It all made sense. But this, I believe, the 3rd or 4th week now of Brodus Clay, it seems as if the fan reaction is not catching on as much as I would have expected it to, David Hero. Will this cause a knee-jerk reaction from World Wrestling Entertainment as it pertains to the Funkasaurus?
You know what? They're building them slow. They're not putting them in there with anybody that's going to pose a serious threat. I think everything is going just as planned for the Funkasaurus. The guy's getting over. I mean, when they give him a promo before his match comes up after 2 weeks, they're definitely investing in this guy, and you know what? He's going to pay off big for him. I can see a title around his waist for the next couple months.
Which one?
Or over his shoulder. Well, it depends if he keeps going back and forth from Raw to SmackDown. I mean, I think him and Cody can be a hell of a program.
Interesting. Dolph Ziggler just sent out a tweet, which we'll retweet via the PWR Show Twitter account. He says, "How damn good am I? R.I.P. Broski and R.I.P. Jomo." Dolph Ziggler saying both those things just a moment ago on Twitter, referencing John Morrison as well. Interesting there from Dolph Ziggler, who is, he says it's not bragging when you could back it up. And one person asked me via Twitter tonight, and I always find this funny, David Hero. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, obviously, unless your opinion's different from someone else's, and then they think you're the wrong one who's wrong. And in my opinion, of course, Dolph Ziggler is a future world champion and just amazing in that ring. And you see so many little pieces of some of the best stars in the history of professional wrestling in the repertoire that is Dolph Ziggler. And I was asked, why do I like somebody who has stolen the gimmicks of 3 other wrestlers and who needs Vicky to get himself over and is nothing but a spot monkey, basically. And it's funny because I would never think those things of Dolph Ziggler. And one thing it sparked is so many people talk about gimmicks being stolen and gimmicks being rehashed and things being redone because a lot of fans nowadays, due to shows like this, to be honest with you, are a lot smarter than they should be. And I wonder, why can't you just sit back and understand that the best in the past are definitely the foundations for what will be the best in the future. There'll never be another Ric Flair. There'll never be another Hulk Hogan. There'll never be another Stone Cold Steve Austin. There'll never be another Rock. But you damn well better bet there will be people that will have qualities of each of those people that will find success in the wrestling business. And Dolph Ziggler is a person who has been not just set up perfectly by WWE because they have spent a lot of time making him a reputable character, but he is a person who can deliver and has all these little pieces, if you will, that make him that damn good and make him what he is, but ultimately he's the one bringing the talent to the ring. And I've gone through the names before. I still see a little bit of Ric Flair. I still see a little bit of even a Sid Justice. I still see a little bit of a Mr. Perfect. I even see a little bit of Jeff Jarrett, of all people, in Dolph Ziggler. Exactly, and I don't think no one's stealing anything. And you know, Brodus Clay, yes, that likens back to Flash Funk.
Is that someone called him a spot monkey? If that person really understood what a spot monkey was, you would never would say it's Dolph Ziggler.
Well, I'll try to find the exact quote because that's not what they used. I paraphrased it a little bit. I want to be. I don't want to be Fox News here and start putting words into people's mouths. But I'll try to find that here in the Twitter stream. There are just hundreds of tweets going around tonight. Reference WWE Raw and reference what happened tonight on the USA Network. And we will encourage you to send us your tweets as well. And you can do so via @PWR Show, which is our Twitter account. Again, that's @PWR Show. And the exact words used come from a user by the name of KO_Scuba, clearly his real name, said for the question was, why do you like a guy that has stolen 3 gimmicks and combined them? A guy that needs Vicky, and reference Vicky Guerrero, for heat and oversells all the time. So, says that he has his usual one botch a match. You know, I'm so sick of that word botch. I mean, whatever. I'm not going to get on a soapbox here. But anyways, that was some of the feedback that we got. Overall, a good Raw tonight, and R-Truth delivering again, especially with the acronym WEIO, what else is on, in reference to The Miz. R-Truth representing a marketing consultant or whatever it was for WWE, and talking about The Miz's must-see rating.
I mean, R-Truth, my God, that guy is, I don't think he's ever been as over as he is right now. Who would have thought acted a little bit crazy and he'd become a top babyface?
Mm-hmm. Can't say I would have predicted.
Speaking of top babyfaces, they are now saying that the Rumble is open to all of the WWE superstars. So that means Punk could get in there, John Cena, DBD, Johnny Ace. Could be interesting.
That it could be, and let's find out for the rest of the PWR team their thoughts on WWE Raw tonight. Let's start with the man they call Meathead. Your summary statement, basically, your overall impact from WWE Raw tonight. Meathead, go ahead.
Well, I think it's one word, and it's progression. And, you guys mentioned it earlier in the program, progression, as in we got progression. We saw things moving along, Jericho speaking.
Line muted.
Tracksuit, other than the red one that he had on. We saw progression from Johnny Ace, and we saw progression out of CM Punk. So, with Ziggler, with Johnny, CM Punk, with Brodus, with Jericho, it just kept moving on.
Yes,
Line unmuted.
It moved, and it seemingly moved directly into St. Louis this Sunday night for the Royal Rumble. Matthew Thomas, our SmackDown correspondent, your thoughts on WWE Raw tonight?
I've got to echo Meathead's sentiments there, especially as it pertains to the further build of this Cena-Kane feud. I've got to say that the story that's being told with Cena right now and this character that he's slowly transforming into is fairly captivating, and I cannot believe I'm saying this, but I'm actually starting to look forward to seeing Cena on my TV now.
I'm sorry, Matthew. One more time, please. You're actually starting to look forward to seeing John Cena on your TV screen now.
It kind of hurt. It kind of hurt to say.
It should hurt to say that. I thought he was pathetic tonight. I mean, I just can't buy it. And I appreciate him for doing the best he can with what he has, but that whole angry bird's face that he had was like,
Guys, I got to let you know, right now, paused on my screen is that image. It just entertains the hell out of me. I have my DVR paused on that poop face.
Of course it is. Well, Matthew, I'm not gonna challenge you on that, but I'm looking forward to speaking Smackdown with you later on, especially given the fact that I think it was one of the best 2-hour weekly wrestling programs we've seen in a very long time from any wrestling company. Matthew will be joining us later on to talk about Smackdown. Also later on, Linda Kay is going to join us with the news desk with all the latest news brought to you by PWRshow.com. And we're going to be taking your phone calls. We're going to be entering the phone zone in just a few moments right here on the Pro Wrestling Report Monday Night Meltdown. But before we do, we've talked a lot about the Royal Rumble, David Hero, and there is simply no one else who is covering the Royal Rumble as well as the Pro Wrestling Report is. It all starts Friday with Be the Booker for the WWE Royal Rumble, where we look at the 10 people who have the potential to win the matchup and discuss the whys and why nots of those individual stars as it pertains to this Sunday's Royal Rumble. And then on Saturday, the coverage continues with PWR Prime Time on My24 Milwaukee and on demand at PWRshow.com, followed by 5 more minutes. And then on Sunday, it's a marathon day of coverage of the WWE Royal Rumble, starting at 12 noon, only at PWRshow.com. Again, this will not be on YouTube. It will be exclusively at PWRshow.com. We are looking at the last 5 years of WrestleMania. So we're going to go all the way back to 2011, 10, 9, 8, ending
the
at
Rumble, right?
7. Did I say something else?
Yeah, you said Mania. I just want to make sure because, you're so picky about these run sheets. I do my show prep.
Yeah, I hear show prep. I am very hyped about WrestleMania as well because we were just finalizing the plans for that coverage too. But the Royal Rumble Sunday, thank you for that correction, David Hero, 12 p.m. start time, Central Time, PWRshow.com. We start our looking back at the last 5 Royal Rumbles, and then at 5 o'clock p.m. in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, on South 1st Street at the Horny Goat Hideaway. It's a big Great Lakes Championship Wrestling show, followed by a free viewing of the WWE Royal Rumble. WWE Royal Rumble for absolutely free, followed by the post-show from the Pro Wrestling Report. We'll be live right after the Pro Wrestling Report. Right after the Royal Rumble with the Pro Wrestling Report post-show. But before we do that, David Hero, it's the return of the stream, a live play-by-play coverage of the Royal Rumble match itself, starting at 9:05 p.m. Central Time. Again, right here on Blog Talk Radio is where you can find the stream. Sunday night, full day of coverage, full weekend of coverage from the Pro Wrestling Report, covering it like nobody else can. And you can find all of that at PWRshow.com on Sunday. Be glued to your computers unless you're coming down to watch the GLCW show and the Royal Rumble free at the Horny Goat Hideaway. And on the post-show, we're going to have some special guests. The last WWE pay-per-view, major pay-per-view post-show we did, actually the last 2. Last time for TLC, Billy Gunn was our guest on the post-show. And for the Survivor Series, Maria Kanellis was our guest on the post-show. Well, this Sunday, 2 more surprise guests will be joining us on the post-show, scheduled to join us, Rhino and Scotty 2 Hottie.
Oh, my gosh. You're going to have Rhino on the air?
Oh, yeah.
Do you realize what a loose cannon he can be?
Yeah, he'll be fine. We got a 12-second delay. We bought 5 more seconds.
You're going to need it. Trust me. You're going to need that delay.
All that Sunday, PWRshow.com, only from the Pro Wrestling Report. And we're going to take a brief timeout. When we come back, we'll enter the phone zone. Again, the number, 877-317-9772. Many of you waiting on hold. The Pro Wrestling Report continues right here on Blog Talk Radio. This is Monday Night Meltdown.
Monday Night Meltdown continues after this, live on Blog Talk Radio. There's only one place to get the latest from pro wrestling, including the only place to get 100% verified wrestling news. PWRshow.com. PWRshow.com, where you'll never find pop-ups or misleading headlines. Watch or listen to all of our latest TV and radio broadcasts on demand. And get caught up on wrestling news between episodes. PWRshow.com is the cleanest, friendliest, and most fan-friendly source for wrestling news on the web.
Sunday, January 29th, 5 o'clock bell time. It's Great Lakes Championship Wrestling back at the Horny Goat Hideaway. Come down and see live pro wrestling featuring stars such as Robbie E. from TNA Wrestling, Rhino, Scotty 2 Hottie, Al Snow, and former WCW star Gorgeous George. Stick around after the wrestling for a free viewing of the WWE Royal Rumble on the Midwest's largest television. GLCW, the Pro Wrestling Report, the Horny Goat Hideaway, and the Royal Rumble, all in one place on one night. For all you great fans, go to PWRshow.com for more information. PWRshow.com.
Don't forget to follow PWR right here on Blog Talk Radio right now. Be reminded of upcoming episodes and never miss Blog Talk Radio's most popular sports show. Follow PWR now. Covering pro wrestling like no other, this is Monday Night Meltdown live on Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report Monday Night Meltdown here on Blog Talk Radio. Damian Nelson, along with David Hero, the man they call Meathead, Matthew Thomas, Linda Kay, and all of you great fans listening all over the world. It's time to take your phone calls and a couple of items, or a couple of rules, if you will, we want you to follow just to make sure this goes as smoothly as possible. So it's time now to go into the phone zone.
The Monday Night Meltdown phone zone is now open. Give us a call live at 1-877-317-9772. And be sure to press 1 to get in where you fit in and be part of tonight's live show. We'll call on you by your area code, and when you hear it, tell us your name and where you're calling from. Then proceed with your question or comment.
All right, well, you heard the rules, and now it's time to go to the phone. So let's go to our first caller, who's calling us from the 517 area code. Caller from the 517, you're live. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello, gentlemen. This is Eric from Planet Funk.
Hello, Eric. What do you have for us?
First thing first, let me preface this statement by saying, David here, I love you. You know this, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's worldwide known.
I've been listening to you guys for a little over 2 years, and I want to say that hearing Meathead on a weekly basis now is so amazing to me. It blows my mind, and I miss this guy so much.
So it's euphoric for you?
Huh?
So it's euphoric?
It's very euphoric. It's... I don't know. I can't even state how happy it makes me. But I should probably move on because
please do.
You got a crap load of callers, I'm sure. First things first, this CM Punk thing, it was kind of a flop in the end. They should have at least teased the GTS, but not let it happen yet. This was their fumble of the Stone Cold recreation that they were trying to do. And also, I want to say it's so amazing to see Dolph Ziggler as the final shot on TV, and whoever said he's a spot monkey and makes all these comparisons and says Vicky Guerrero holds him back and all this other kind of crap, not true. This guy is making his own path, and that's the problem that people aren't seeing. So I'd like to see somebody else step into that ring and try to create their own path like this guy is doing right now.
Eric, thank you very much for that call, and it seems as if that sentiment is pretty strong out there as it pertains to Dolph Ziggler, but I wonder how many people actually see him as championship material. That could be the thing that people may not be prepared for, and the last thing WWE needs right now is another hotshot championship title change. Let's go to our next phone caller, calling us from the 901 area code. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
What's up, I'm sorry, Damien. Oops, I said that wrong. What's up, Damien? It's your boy Curryhead. How you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic, Curryhead. And Curryhead, while it's always great to hear from you, our conversations, due to how joyful they are, tend to go very long. So let's try to get through it quickly here.
Damien, Curryhead just said that you're dumb or dead from the neck up. How does that make you feel?
I'm not sure he was referring to me as it pertains to that, but let's continue and hear what Curryhead has to say. Go ahead, Curry, you're live.
How you doing, Damien?
Tremendous.
Well, before I start, we want more Meathead and David here and less of you, but I digress on that. I'm going to be serious.
If there were less of me, there'd be no Pro Wrestling Report, so deal with it.
How you doing, Mr. How you doing, Mr. Octavius Tiberius Hero, sir?
I am absolutely tremendous.
I want to say this. I love it. I always love this time of year for the WWE. The WWE, it never fails from January to April. They always step their A game up. No surprise. That's when their two biggest major pay-per-views are going on. So I'm not shocked on this note. I am shocked about Johnny Ace. I mean, Shane Douglas' ex-partner. I mean, John Laurinaitis. He's actually showed for the past couple weeks, showed more charisma that he has shown in the past 25 years. I am shocked about that. But I digress on to that. I wonder what's this feud is going to last? What's it going to be? And I want your opinions on this. What do you think about CM Punk or Daniel Bryan? Daniel Bryan winning the Royal Rumble, losing the belt, then winning the Royal Rumble again.
There's no way. I can't see that happening at all. I mean, if they're going to build the winner of the Rumble into a WrestleMania headliner, they need someone that has some star appeal. And right now, Daniel Bryan is a great champion on the Smackdown brand, but he's not the guy that's going to have a top 4 match at WrestleMania.
Let's go to our next caller. Thank you, Curryhead, for calling from down in Memphis, Tennessee. So our next caller, calling us from the 269 area code. Caller from the 269, you're live.
Hey, this is David from Michigan.
Hello, David.
Hey, I want to talk about, I felt that kind of bad for David Hero, because it seems like what you've been saying is kind of true, Damian, about he picks up The Miz, and then it's like he's falling down, and now Zack Ryder got a broken back after 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It's a coincidence. You
ruined The Miz's career. Now you've ruined Zack Ryder's career. Who's next, David Hero? I hate to think what is going to happen to Dolph Ziggler this Sunday, since you've got some Mighty Mouse Club taint on him as well. Will you just admit it? We may not be able to do the draft again because you are Mr. Future Endeavors. You should have been wearing that T-shirt tonight.
Oh, I've never got anybody fired.
Wow.
Okay.
Thanks, pal.
I mean, come on. You got karma knocked up. Well, I've never got anybody fired.
I repeat, I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Adams, Miss Williams.
But I will pick up something for Zack Ryder before the Royal Rumble paper.
No, you won't. I won't let you. Thank you very much for that call, David from out in Michigan. Let's continue on the phones. Let's go to caller from the 303 area code. Caller, you're live. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
What's up, guys? This is Ryan from originally Denver, Colorado, but I started to move to Planet Funk with Eric.
All right. What do you have for us this week?
So I got a question for you containing Brodus. Since you guys think he could get a title run here soon, do you see somebody teaming up with him and making a tag title run towards Epico and Primo?
Yeah, Ryan, I don't know about that. I need to see more of Epico and Primo. And they had a good match on SmackDown this past Friday night, but I don't. What point does putting Brodus in a tag team do for anyone?
Unless he's teamed up with Hornswoggle, he will be a solo wrestler.
Yeah.
I mean, right now if he's going to do a tag, he'll be with another character, and there is no other character on either brand at this time. I mean, they're going to give Brodus Clay a great singles push. He's going to get over with the kids. He's going to make a ton of money selling merchandise, and yeah, he will be getting a title run, but not until at least 2 or 3 or 4 months down the road. He does not need a belt right now. Putting a belt on him right now, I think, would stop any steam that he has going for him.
Thank you, Ryan, for that call, and let's continue on the phones and take another call here before we move into SmackDown. And this caller comes to us from the 309 area code. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
What's up? This is Arthur Jones calling from the Bloomington, Illinois area.
All right, what do you have for us this week, Arthur?
2 things. Number one, I don't see Dolph Ziggler as championship material. No way.
Okay.
And number 2, this is a question. Do you see The Miz, who is now number 1 in the Royal Rumble, do what the late great Chris Benoit did and Shawn Michaels did back in 1995, winning the whole thing?
That would definitely, thank you very much for that call, Arthur, that would definitely put The Miz back in the top echelon of WWE talents, and because arguably he's been floundering since David Hero picked him in the draft, but I just don't see it. I mean, there's so many, anybody could win this Rumble, and that's what's great about it, and it's legit. Generally, in past years for the Rumble, you've known it was going to be a Triple H or an Edge or a John Cena or whoever. But there have been some surprises as well. I don't think Alberto Del Rio was a surprise last year, but really this year, there's a lot of players in that matchup. There's a lot of people who could win it. And let's not lose sight of the fact that for the last several years, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, there have been some big returns in the Royal Rumble. A lot of people still speculating David Hero, and I'm not going to speculate, but it's worth discussion that there could be a certain former UFC champion involved in the Rumble this Sunday because they could do that.
Oh, they could. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see that happen. I mean, you got the return of Randy Orton in the Rumble, you got Mick Foley, you got Chris Jericho. There's going to be a lot of legendary stars in the Rumble, and I'm not saying Mick Foley has a chance to win. He's definitely going to be a player, but I honestly think, I mean, if I could pick a Final Four right now, I'm going to say Miz, Sheamus, Jericho, and Barrett. I mean, those four guys right now are getting a lot of TV time, and, I think those are the four guys that they can build off of.
Cody Rhodes has said he is going to win the Rumble and go on to WrestleMania to become the first dual champion since The Ultimate Warrior. There is a lot of discussion about the Rumble. There are a lot of people who may not necessarily be legit contenders, but maybe they are because you don't know that John Cena is going to be in the Rumble. You don't know that Kane, Undertaker, Triple H, all those people who are so obvious winners of the Rumble, their names have not been announced as participants in the Rumble, which then opens it up to everybody else in WWE to be a potential winner. The countdown every 2 minutes this Sunday on pay-per-view is going to be fantastic, and I'm very much looking forward to calling the action live right here on Blog Talk Radio during the return of the stream. We haven't done the stream, David Hero, since Victory Road last year, but we did do it for the Royal Rumble last year as well. It was a fun broadcast, but it is going to be a very fun Royal Rumble night on pay-per-view. It's generally one of the best nights in wrestling pay-per-view each and every year, and the Pro Wrestling Report is going to be bringing you live coverage all day long, all weekend long at PWRshow.com. I want to thank those of you who joined us in the phone zone. We're going to be going back into the phone zone at the bottom of the program, right around the quarter after the 11 o'clock hour, probably a little bit later. We're running a little long here, but some good discussion nonetheless. And without further ado, I think it's time to go and talk about the blue side of things. Let's be joined here by Matthew Thomas to talk a little bit about last Friday's WWE
Monday
Smackdown.
Night Meltdown continues with a look back at last week's WWE Smackdown broadcast in the Smackdown Meltdown.
Welcome, Matthew Thomas. Good to talk to you again. Let's take it away and talk about SmackDown last Friday night, which, as I said earlier in the program, from my standpoint, was one of the best overall entertaining wrestling shows I've seen on weekly episodic TV in a very long time.
It was a very entertaining show, no doubt, and this was no ordinary SmackDown. This was, in fact, Sin City SmackDown emanating from Las Vegas this week, and it brought the return of what has formerly been called the Raw Roulette Wheel. And the first person up to spin the wheel is a man who now calls himself the last hope for the Rhodes family, none other than one Cody Rhodes. And he lands on Player's Choice, whereupon he gets to choose his opponent for the evening, where he then selects Hornswoggle. So we finally, it looked like at least for a little while we were going to get that dream, Cody Hornswoggle match there.
Come on now.
For a little while. Although Hornswoggle, he kind of took his sweet time trying to make his way down to the ring. So Cody decided to go out and, I guess, meet him halfway and commence a Hornswoggle beatdown right outside the ring until Justin Gabriel gets involved and basically tells Cody that he needs to pick on someone his own size.
Oh, they're similar, aren't they?
Stop.
And anyway, I got a little concern for you here, Damien. Cody, being the fighting champion that he is, he clearly specifies that it is a non-title match, and for a little while I was thinking we might see a little Justin Gabriel upset there. But no, Cody over clean in the middle of the ring with Crossroads, which, if I'm correct, that marks the third week in a row he's gone over clean in the middle of the ring. So Cody continues to look strong.
Well, it was a great matchup between those two, and Justin Gabriel's an amazing competitor. It's a shame he's been pretty much put in the position he's in, which is just going in and making other people look good, but you need those guys as well. It was a good matchup, and it was a strong week for Cody Rhodes. I think that it was a good week for him on SmackDown, and he looks like a champion. What does it matter? He dominated on SmackDown.
I'm just
and no Goldust or Dustin involvement this week, but they did keep that dialogue going. He was mentioned earlier, I believe, in the Vegas Showgirls match he was in years back. So I know that last week too. They're keeping Goldust in the dialogue, which hopefully will set up for the ultimate Cody Goldust feud to come here and hopefully the next few months. And the wheel also brought us the moment you mentioned earlier, the Funkasaurus Brodus Clay versus Vicky Guerrero in a dance-off. And I hope that Brodus knows, I hope that he's aware of the joy that he's bestowing upon so many right now, because this was fun.
And here's the thing, Matthew, and here's the thing, David, and I want to hear your feedback on this. And this is what really made SmackDown, and I know I'm going to catch heat for this, and I really don't care, but what made SmackDown as great as it was last Friday, because they delivered amazing storytelling, good wrestling, some comedy, and an overall solid show. This comedy bit was, as you just said, Matthew, fun. It was fun. It was hilarious. Seeing Vicky Guerrero dancing in the ring like Elaine Bennis, being the Seinfeld fan that I am, and then William Regal just absolutely looking like he's having some kind of aneurysm or something, and then with the call me thing to Brodus and all that. It was just so ridiculous that you've got people sitting out there saying, oh, well, I want to see the wrestling. Where's the wrestling? Give me wrestling. I want to see a good matchup. You know what? You don't, because you're not watching that part. You're watching this funny ha-ha stuff, and it was funny ha-ha, and it was good ha-ha, and it did what it needed to do. And, David, you can't doubt that this helped Brodus Clay overall, but it also helped William Regal and put him back in the front of all of us wrestling fans.
Absolutely. I mean, William Regal, he's a character. I mean, William Regal and Brodus Clay are similar. Both are legitimate badasses. Both guys can fight, they can scratch, they can claw, and they could both probably win for any match, under the sun. And then you throw in a little bit of character, a little bit of funny ha-ha that gives them a new element. That's where they make the money.
Yep.
When you can combine a character and a legitimate tough guy. I mean, it's definitely, I know it's like 50-50. Some hate it, some love it. I think the ones that hate it just need to realize, hey, it's grown men in their underwear. Okay, at the end of the day, that's what they're doing, and they're entertaining. And Brodus Clay, he looks comfortable when he's out there doing it. I mean, he's entertaining, and you know what? It's good. When it's all said and done, it'll prove itself. It's going to be a great gimmick.
Absolutely. The segment definitely, when Regal got involved, as far as I'm concerned, it went from an A to an A+. It made it that much better for me.
It reminds me of when Damien has too much Jameson and he gets out there and he starts dancing and, doing the call me sign to the girls and everything. Believe me. And that's all going to happen again in Miami. No question.
All right. And one match that had previously been announced the previous week, Sheamus versus Wade Barrett. And the roulette wheel actually dictated that it was a tables match. And I've got to say, I know we're 3 weeks into January, but this was probably the best match that I've seen on television so far this year. I'm not typically a fan of these tables matches, but I thought the two of these guys told a great story. And, honestly, if I have to see these two guys wrestle each other the rest of the year on SmackDown, I will not complain. I enjoyed it that much.
Overall, it was a good SmackDown, I thought, a very good SmackDown. And the Lumberjack match, which led into the announcement of that triple threat cage match at the Royal Rumble, again, very well done. And there's no doubt about it now. And, David, we've been talking about it for weeks. There's no doubt about it. Daniel Bryan is a heel.
Oh, there's no question. I mean, he's a cowardly heel. He's a guy that is going to go in there and cheat to win and sneak out if he can. And, oh, yeah. I mean, and it's been a nice, slow change of pace where they finally got there with him. Let's just hope he can sustain, and get past Big Show and Mark Henry, and then what is next for him?
One question. I'd love to hear your feedback on this, Matthew. As we were talking about why SmackDown was good, why it may have been one of the best 2 hours, at least from my standpoint of wrestling you've seen in a while. You always hear, you hear people talk about, I want to see wrestling. I watch wrestling for wrestling. I want to see the stupid Brodus Clay. I don't want to see a stupid dance-off. Firstly, 90% of the people who go out on the Twitter and Facebooks and whatnot and say that haven't heard of, or they've heard of Ring of Honor, but they won't watch it because it's just wrestling. Secondly, the majority of those people don't realize that when you walk away from a great wrestling match, it's a 30-minute euphoria. When you walk away from a great wrestling angle and a great wrestling story, or a great comedy bit, you remember that for weeks, months, if not years. How many people remember The Rock? This Is Your Life segment from Raw, the highest-rated wrestling segment in the Monday Night Wrestling Wars. Conversely, how many people remember Jericho and, was it HBK or Triple H? Jericho and Triple H from WrestleMania 18, which was one of the best matches that ever happened at WrestleMania. That's what people take away, and that's what people remember. And it's just, it's funny. It's like the Brodus Clay thing, I latched on to Brodus real quickly, endorsed him that first week. And now a lot of fans are coming around and seeing things as they like Brodus as opposed to WTF, what is this? How dare them ruin Brodus? Because, he's supposed to be a monster heel, blah, 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 blah. All that stuff. It's funny. And I challenge a lot of wrestling fans to do this. Take 5 seconds. Take 5 minutes. Sit back. Absorb. Let the bounty quicker picker-upper pick it up for a little bit. Ring it out, and then make a determination. We're so quick in society today, and as wrestling fans today, to just instantaneously judge. Now, I'm not knocking anybody for doing it. That's just what society is. That's the way things are. But in that rush to judgment, we don't fully absorb the things that are being given to us.
Sure, and it's those moments like that, too, talking about Brodus, talking about the This Is Your Life segment. Those are the things that tend to stick with you over time. Those are the things that you tend to remember, and in the age of YouTube, they're the things that you tend to go back, and watch again, So, absolutely.
All right, well, Matthew, thank you. Go ahead, David.
I was going to say, wrestling fans have high expectations. It was proven with Brodus Clay. It was proven with Chris Jericho. It's just, we expect. We're all waiting for that next Austin 3:16 moment. We're waiting for that next, Rock, Know Your Role, Jabroni Drive moment. And it's not going to happen yet like that. It's going to be something a little bit smaller, maybe half as good. But I think the days of the NWO and 3:16 and DX, I think that's long gone.
Matthew, thank you very much for coming on and joining us and talking about SmackDown. You're going to be joining us on Sunday for the Royal Rumble post-show as well, and it's going to be a tremendous show this Sunday night. It's a stacked show. There's a lot of people on that show, David Hero. We're going to have to look at the run sheet for that and make sure there's enough time. Also,
time I can look it over.
Thank you, Matthew, for joining us. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you again on Sunday. I want to also thank everybody joining us in the chat room here on Blog Talk Radio, and want to apologize for anybody who lost the feed of the show just a little while ago. The show it's fine on our end. It was an issue with Blog Talk Radio. However, that's why we record the show on several different programs, so that the podcast version can be maintained, and obviously the website version can be maintained as well. So all the conversation you missed, if you missed any, will be available. And just remember, if that were to happen, all you need to do is refresh your browser, and Blog Talk Radio will then pick it up again. But again, show not lost on our end. It was an issue with Blog Talk Radio. David, SmackDown last week, we talked about the dance segment, but overall, your thoughts on the show, the 2 hours of wrestling presented on Sci-Fi?
You know what? I really liked the Sheamus Brodus Clay, the Sheamus Wade Barrett match, and I just liked the further progression of Daniel Bryan. I mean, the Lumberjack match I thought was interesting. I thought it was a great way for him to establish himself as being the coward by sneaking out, not getting involved in all the stuff that ended in the show. And you know what? It's weird because when I'm watching that Lumberjack match and I'm looking at the Lumberjacks, I got to admit, it's like, wow, where did some of these guys come from? You have Tyler Rex and Trent Beretta and some other guys that don't get a whole lot of TV time, and when you finally see them out there, it's like, whoa, where have these guys been forever?
And when did Tyson Kidd grow hair?
Yeah, I mean, he lost that Charlie Brown gimmick, So, and it's like, okay, you know what? These guys, SmackDown obviously is the next, and this may come out sounding wrong, but it's the next step above NXT and FCW. It's where the guys are going to learn to perfect their skill, to improve their craft, and then you have some strong veterans down there on the SmackDown brand that are helping. But if you look at that crew right now, with the exception of the injured Randy Orton and Christian and Big Show and Mark Henry, most of it are all guys that have been called up in the last 3 or 4 years.
Let's go now to this week's news, and let's welcome back Linda Kay from
It's
Mexico.
time for the week's headlines, brought to you by PWRshow.com, the only wrestling website with verified pro wrestling news, along with the first look at all of our episodes. Let's go to the news desk with the lovely Linda Kay.
All right, guys, welcome to the PWR News Desk for Monday, January 23rd, 2012. I'm Linda Kay, and let's get to this week's wrestling headlines brought to you by PWRshow.com. The Make-A-Wish Foundation honors the WWE and WWE superstar John Cena for their commitment to wish granting. Today, the Make-A-Wish Foundation honored WWE superstar John Cena and WWE for their contributions to Wish Kids by dedicating a WWE-themed conference room in the charity's global headquarters. The foundation says, WWE wishes have been popular since early in the foundation's history, and we are proud to count the WWE and its superstars as longtime supporters, end quote. John Cena is on pace to grant 300 wishes to kids with life-threatening medical conditions, making him the first celebrity wish granter ever to reach that lofty goal. In 2009, John Cena received the foundation's Chris Gracious Award for his outstanding efforts on behalf of Wish Kids. Recently, John Cena teamed up with Post Foods to prominently display the Make-A-Wish Foundation alongside his image on newly designed boxes of Post Fruity Pebbles cereal, which are available nationwide through March. How about that, guys?
No, it's, John Cena, WWE, while they give themselves credit sometimes in the, did you know pieces that air on Raw and SmackDown, they don't get enough credit for the good that they do, whether it be for our troops or whether it be for, as you see there, some 300 wishes granted to kids. And this from a man who's filming movies and on the road and at house shows and doing all this other stuff. It's really amazing and really something that, goes into the overall consideration of a person's character. John Cena, very valuable as a good guy to WWE. John Cena, very valuable for their efforts in these type regards. And this is just a great thing, and he really deserves praise for this, including being on those Fruity Pebbles boxes, which that whole story and that whole evolution came simply from a statement by The Rock about a year ago, which is just fantastic.
We can all sit back and make fun of John Cena for being Fruity Pebbles and whatever else, but at the end of the day, honestly, he just might be, with the exception of Vinnie Mac, the hardest working man in pro wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
He's always on the go. He's always doing something. And you know what he does with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, that's pretty awesome. That's very cool.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I'm definitely getting that box of Fruity Pebbles. All right, in other news, official details and ticket information for TNA's Lockdown pay-per-view have been announced. TNA Wrestling has announced Nashville will be the home for Lockdown 2012, presented by Direct Auto Insurance. The annual live all-steel cage pay-per-view extravaganza is scheduled for Sunday night, April 15th, at the Nashville Municipal Auditorium.
That's tax day.
This will be TNA's... What?
That's tax day. The post office is going to be open late, huh?
Oh, yeah, you're right. All right. This will be TNA Wrestling's first televised event from Nashville since 2007. Tickets for Lockdown 2012 start at $15 and go on sale Friday, January 27th at all Ticketmaster outlets or Ticketmaster.com.
All right, here's my question.
Vegas.
Nash Vegas?
Uh-huh.
Beale Street? No, that's Memphis. Here's my question, and screw it, I'm just going to ask it. We were at Lockdown 2011, David Hero. Maybe we'll be at Lockdown again this year in Nashville. I haven't been down to Nashville in quite a while. At Cincinnati, it was a good event, very good event, shenanigans surrounding that event, but one that saw them fill half of a decent-sized arena. Should they be starting at $15 for this, or do you go lower? And I think they did this with Slammiversary a couple of years ago, where the tickets were like $5-7. And they drew a decent crowd. Is this the right strategy for them? You being a promoter, one who's promoting an event this Sunday?
Well, they're going to be in Nashville. It's their hometown. It's where TNA started, and if they can't sell out their homecoming at $15, I mean, $15 is a great price for a pay-per-view.
Keep in mind where it's been promoted thus far on Dixie Carter's Twitter account.
Right, but it's still 3 months out. You got to figure Nashville is their hometown. They will get tons of love in their hometown. Dixie Carter knows plenty of people where she can definitely get a whole lot of favors called in.
All
right, we shall see how those ticket sales go. And there is news regarding WWE Studios' next film project. World Wrestling Entertainment's film division, WWE Studios, will be producing a new film called Bermuda, which, not surprisingly, is set in the infamous Bermuda Triangle.
Shocking. How about that? Who's the star in that one? Oh, I bet you that's where Zack Ryder's going to be going.
Ah.
I mean,
I'll try to find that out.
Now. It's Bermuda Triangle.
Bermuda. When are they going to walk away from this movie business? Every time they drop results, they're just they lose money on these things. I think the only one they made money on was Cena Evil. They actually might have been the only one they made money on. Whatever. They think they're
the Marine.
It's now that all these guys get their side cards. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
That right there is worth its price in gold, or the value in gold, or diamonds, or rubies, whatever you want to call it.
All right. And lastly, MVP and John Cena collaborating and talks a WWE return. Former WWE wrestler MVP told Scott Fishman of the Miami Herald in an interview that if he was to return to WWE, he would like to work with a number of their top talent on the Smackdown brand. MVP says, if I did come back, I think I would want to be exclusive to Smackdown. I think I would want to go back there and help that brand and some of the younger guys, end quote. MVP currently works for New Japan Pro Wrestling and also noted that John Cena may appear on his next mixtape, which is due for a 2012 release.
His next what? His
mixtape.
Mixtape? They still make mixtapes?
You know, when you got your music release, you got to start it on, some type of tape, and then you advance it on to the next thing, and mixtapes. Old school, baby.
Fantastic.
MVP told Scott Fishman, again of the Miami Herald in an interview, quote, once I release my EP/mixtape, there are going to be a lot of performances in support of it. I don't know where just yet, but I have a plan. I talked to John when WWE came to Tokyo. I told him I was working on some stuff and asked if he wanted to get together to record some new stuff. He said, give me 16 bars and I got you. So who knows? John Cena may make an appearance.
More than Damian Nelson hits on the strip in Las Vegas.
John Cena may make an appearance on this EP/mixtape I'm going to put out. End quote. So, interesting to hear this collaboration coming out later this year.
Yeah, I guess.
Do you honestly think Cena has time for all that?
Yes.
I mean, it'd be great for both of them, but I don't know.
Well, he's just making an appearance.
Linda, thank you so much for the news.
All right, that's the news.
Hey, Linda, listen, I haven't had a chance to talk to you yet, but I do apologize for Damien not letting you and the girls in the studio last week.
Linda, we talked. Linda, we talked, and we got this all. everybody's just got to remember who's in charge around here. You guys and your shenanigans. David, you are not authorized to authorize anybody to get into the building. So if you do things right and ask me politely and nicely with a memo 4 weeks before, then it can be considered. And Linda's
a memo? Who does a memo?
A memorandum.
I just text you.
We're still a very professional place. Thank you very much, Linda, for calling in and being a part of...
And staying awake. Yes.
One thing that happened tonight on Twitter, just got a message from Josh Cross, user @JoshCross, saying TNA ran a commercial tonight during Raw here in Nashville, promoting tickets going on sale for Lockdown on Friday. So that's great. And to your point, David Hero, is they're definitely getting the word out more so than it seemed they were for that particular event.
Bro, it's Nashville. It's their hometown.
Motor City?
I mean, come on. I mean, and keep in mind, Dixie Carter has been running shows, concerts, and events in that area for forever. So she knows all the right people to pull all the right strings. And if they don't have a good house, and that just shows you how this company's doing. But I'm hoping that they draw well, and I hope that we're down there. I think Nashville is great in April.
We're going to take our final time out of the evening. When we come back, we're going to talk to Meathead and Dwayne about TNA Impact from last week, and then round out the show with your phone calls. We'll be back in less than 2 minutes. This is the Pro Wrestling Report Monday Night Meltdown, right here live on Blog Talk Radio. We'll be back, as I said, in just a moment.
Monday Night Meltdown continues after this, live on Blog Talk Radio. There's only one place to get the latest from pro wrestling, including the only place to get 100% verified wrestling news. PWRshow.com. PWRshow.com, where you'll never find pop-ups or misleading headlines. Watch or listen to all of our latest TV and radio broadcasts on demand, and get caught up on wrestling news between episodes. PWRshow.com is the cleanest, friendliest, and most fan-friendly source for wrestling news on the web. You're listening to the most popular sports show on Blog Talk Radio, the Pro Wrestling Report. Missed an episode on the Pro Wrestling Report? Thanks, pal. Subscribe to the show on iTunes and take the show with you wherever you go, even in the bathroom. Covering pro wrestling like no other, this is Monday Night Meltdown live on Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome back to Monday Night Meltdown here on Blog Talk Radio Live for the Pro Wrestling Report. Damian Nelson along with David Hero. And want to remind all of you that come this Sunday, Pro Wrestling Report is covering the WWE Royal Rumble like no one else can. It's going to be exclusively at PWRshow.com. So if you're listening to this show on Sunday before you start asking us where you can find this, that, or the other thing, all of it will be at PWRshow.com as a symbol of appreciation to those of you who visit our website. It'll be a full day's coverage, Royal Rumble Sunday, including a look back at the last 5 years of the Royal Rumble, and also the stream returning live, which will be right here also on Blog Talk Radio during the main event, during the last hour of the Royal Rumble, followed by the post-show. Also discussing the Royal Rumble, our scheduled guests for the post-show, Scotty Tuhati and Rhino. That should be very, very interesting. All Sunday, all the details of that coverage right now at PWRshow.com. But also, right now, I want to talk a little bit about last Thursday's TNA offering, Impact, on Spike TV.
Now it's time to get the meltdown on last week's TNA Impact Wrestling, along with a preview of this Thursday's Sudden Impact Radio.
And Dwayne and Meathead, take it away, guys. Tell us what we saw last Thursday night and what the highlights and lowlights were.
Well, definitely the highlight, again, I thought was the continued, key buzzword of the night, progression, the continued progression of Bobby Roode as the heel champion, as he was left standing over everyone in the ring Thursday night on Impact.
I agree. Bobby Roode, moving forward as a champion, I don't think there's an end game in sight. I think he's going to hold on to this title for quite some time.
Yeah, and there's also some confusion as to who the number one contender is. James Storm came out saying he beat Kurt Angle. He should be the number one contender. Jeff Hardy says, "Where's my rematch?" They go to a main event at the end of the Impact, and again, not to use David Hero's key buzzword as well, shenanigans, but Bully Ray beating refs down, causing all sorts of problems. So I'd love to see at least a triple threat. Let's see if we can get Bully Ray thrown into the title mix as well, because you remember on Impact about a week ago, he says, "Yeah, I'll help you out. Just one thing, I'm going to need a title shot." So, Dwayne, I don't know how you feel about that, but I'd like to see all four in the main event.
Is it time to interject Bully Ray into the actual match?
I think so. And I think that we're going to build toward it. And, we also talk about what's coming up on Impact this week. And Damian and Dave, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I think it's time to put Bully Ray into the main event picture and actually maybe throw him a bone, throw him a title shot.
Hey, I've long talked about how great Bully Ray is, especially since he's essentially turned his career completely 360 and has become one of the mainstays in TNA wrestling. It seems as if going into the next pay-per-view, though, we're going to see a matchup between Bobby Roode, James Storm, and Jeff Hardy. I can buy that. I can believe that. I can get behind that. But I would venture to say that Bully Ray could add an interesting dynamic to that matchup. But you really want to, in that particular match, in my opinion, focus on the champion, Bobby Roode, and him walking out again, still the champion.
Sure. And with the pay-per-view being called Against All Odds, of course it's against all odds for, James Storm or Jeff Hardy to get the championship belt away from Roode, because he would have, Bully Ray in the ring with him. And, one of the things that Dwayne and I have been talking about for the last couple of weeks, and it's glad to see that they're going to get away from it, Impact being taped over in London, England, and other, British locations.
Nottingham and Effingham, I believe, they're going to be going to as well, doing some television tapings.
Yeah, that'll be fantastic, because then we'll have a real wrestling crowd that's not tweeting and yawning and scratching their nether regions while watching a promo between Eric and Garrett Bischoff again.
Definitely a low light of the show. I'm all for Garrett Bischoff and giving the young guys an opportunity. The way that they're presenting Garrett Bischoff is unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I think he's forced that, and he's going to tell everybody who his surprise trainer is going to be. It's going to be the Hulkster that's training him. And Eric Bischoff flip his lid. But another highlight from the show: the continued love between ODB and EY. EY just killing it week after week. I mean, you get something from Eric Young that you don't see on regular, primetime wrestling, which is that kind of indie feel where he goes around, he locks up with the ref, he's horsing around, doesn't really get into any match right away, but it's just entertaining all day long.
You guys mentioned Hulk Hogan there, and David, we haven't mentioned this on somewhat on purpose because it just doesn't do any good for TNA, but just keep in mind we haven't seen Hogan since October, and while he had oral surgery, Brutus the Barber Beefcake made some pretty inflammatory statements recently, and you got to imagine he's got Hogan's, he knows what Hogan's thinking, and they had some unfavorable things to say about TNA, specifically that TNA wants to remain in their little pocket of the world and only appeal to the fans that they currently have, and they don't want to make it a bigger thing, and that's the opposite of where Hogan wants to be, which is why you've seen Hogan take a step back. Now, again, this didn't come from Hogan's mouth. This came from Brutus Beefcake, but again, you got to give it some validity because of the relationship that those two have. And that's not a good statement as if you're TNA, especially with the money that they've guaranteed and are paying Hogan, but the success of the company overall as part of the deal was that the company had to grow for Hogan to get the money that he wanted to get out of the deal. Now there's talks, David, that in addition to Ric Flair, Hogan may be on his way to working out some type of deal with World Wrestling Entertainment, neither of which would surprise me.
Well, Hogan's going to go wherever the big money is. I mean, there's no question. I mean, Hogan sees that TNA is tarnishing his legacy. Nothing good has come out of it. I mean, he's taken over the company. It hasn't moved at all in the ratings. He's gotten in the ring.
It's gone slightly up. Let's give him credit. It has gone slightly up.
Right. But on that point, Dave, too, is we knew this going into it, that Hogan wasn't there to be the martyr for TNA, to help TNA. Hogan was going there to make what he could make for Hogan. I mean, let's be completely honest. that's what he went there for. When Hogan had that book deal, when he was supposed to be promoting Impact Wrestling on all these, media outlets, he really didn't mention TNA. Hogan was mentioning Hogan. So I mean, again, I don't fault him for that, but
if you take those comments of Beefcake and look at the behaviors of Hogan and look back in the history book, if you will, it all makes perfect sense. And as you said, David Hero, he's all about the Hogan brand, the Hulk Hogan brand. And I would imagine Hogan could go on to Raw next week. Hogan could be in the Royal Rumble this Sunday. And 75% of the fans wouldn't even know he spent the last 2 years in TNA. That's a problem.
Well, it is a problem. It's a huge problem.
But anyways, I don't want to get off on that tangent. We'll talk about that on a future broadcast for sure. But this past Thursday's Impact, I think we also saw a cage match.
Yeah, Mickie James and I can't believe the names. Dwayne, help me out here. Taylor Wilde, right? No, not Taylor Wilde.
Taylor Wilde, really?
Whoa, bro! What are you doing? Are you popping some of Dwayne's pain pills over there? Taylor Wilde, she's selling sunglasses up in Canada.
Dwayne, just so you know, Dwayne, I understand you did have some teeth pulled today, so you're still joining us here on the program. What you do for the fans, amazing. But we do also have a wellness policy, and our policy goes as follows, okay? You're encouraged. You're encouraged to take whatever is prescribed to you and whatever dosage you feel is necessary for as long as you feel it's necessary in combination with anything else you deem it needs. So just so you know, that's our wellness policy. Your first violation results in a 20-day suspension.
But anyway,
I'm no ever born.
Yeah. They went at it pretty good. It was a nice hardcore match, and the rest of the girls in the back obviously congratulated Mickie. Mickie, popping the champagne, but it had an odd setup to it. I mean, I know we got it promoted last week, because Madison thought she was in charge of the knockouts, but I thought it was kind of ill-placed. A cage match, and again, we'll talk to the booker, and he'll give his opinion on this in a second, but a cage match should be one of the ending gimmicks. You work your way from single match issue, maybe a false count anywhere, work it all the way up to like a cage match, where that should really be the finale of it, shouldn't it, Dave?
Well, yeah, but they don't have a cage match with the girls on free TV. That's what's so weird and kabuki-ish about it, I mean, we have lockdown coming up in a couple of months. Have that there.
Yep.
Right, exactly.
There shouldn't be a cage match on TNA Wrestling until the lockdown pay-per-view. Make it special. Make it mean something more.
Right, and then with a match like this should have been promoted as a must-see event. It should have been, if you're going to do it on the show, it should have been hyped up. I mean, they just kind of threw it out there. I think they put it on the website, but I mean, it wasn't. The show was not built around that cage match, and if you're going to do something like that, if you're going to have women in a cage, you need to build it up.
Right. What was the point of it if it's not promoted?
Wow, that history goes back quite a while as it pertains to that Nashville-based company. But be that as it may, got just another minute here for TNA discussion. What else do you guys have to close out the segment?
Well, Dwayne, as we were talking about, again, we're hoping that there's a little bit more to the Bobby Roode progression. We like the way that, or at least I do, I like the way that Jeff Hardy and James Storm and even Kurt Angle's been in the mix along with Bully Ray, but I don't know how you see Impact going this week.
I mean, I'm looking forward to the potential return of a past TNA star.
I mean, a past and local friend from around here star? Is that what you're talking about?
Absolutely, with a new look.
New look, too, right?
Yeah. Looking forward to that and seeing how they tie him into the current product.
I hope so. Damon, that's Impact. And, again, don't forget, guys, obviously, Impact, Sudden Impact will be on 10 o'clock Central this Thursday, right after Impact Wrestling. Dwayne's going to be there. I'm going to be there. Dave Hero listens in his car, on the side of the street. He's parked over in the corner, listening on the radio. So he tries to.
Yeah, and right now I'm working on your new hashtag progression T-shirt too. It should be in the store next week.
Thank you, Meathead. Thank you, Dwayne, for joining us here on Monday Night Meltdown. We'll see you guys Sunday after the Royal Rumble for the Royal Rumble post show as well. And now, David Hero, it's time to round out the show by taking just a couple more phone calls here. And again, let's make sure everybody knows how this all works.
The Monday Night Meltdown phone zone is now open. Give us a call live at 1-877-317-9772. And be sure to press 1 to get in where you fit in and be part of tonight's live show. We'll call on you by your area code, and when you hear it, tell us your name and where you're calling from. Then proceed with your question or comment.
And David Hero, we've been talking a lot about Nashville, especially in the last segment. So let's go to someone calling from the 615 area code down in the Nashville area. Call what's your name? Where are you calling from?
It's Elaine from Nashville.
Hello, Elaine. What do you have for us this week?
I'm having to talk about the Divas because I'm really frustrated. I was getting invested in Natalya and Beth as a team. Beth hasn't been on TV in a month.
Muted.
And Natty hasn't won since, I think, August of last year.
Yeah, I think Beth Phoenix might. I think she might be injured.
But she's been working house shows, though.
Did something there.
Yeah, and that's the Divas champion, and she hasn't been acknowledged in the past couple of weeks.
It's just kind of disappointing because, I thought they were going somewhere with it, and now it's like they're not even mentioned at all.
Well, they spent all that time trying to push Alicia Fox, and see where that got them.
Yeah. I feel bad for her, though, because she should be technically number one contender. She's beaten Beth a couple of times, and they don't even mention that either.
Yeah, well, and I think for the last several Royal Rumbles, we've had, Beth Phoenix was even in a Royal Rumble. Remember eliminating the Great Khali a couple of years back. We've seen a Divas matchup as part of that card, and really, as you said, aside from the occasional match here or there on Raw or SmackDown, there's really been not much focus. Maybe, and I don't know when this time frame is going to develop in that way, but I'm not sure if or when Karma's going to be coming back to WWE. Maybe they're being deliberately quiet and waiting to see what pans out in that regard.
I can see that happening. It's just so boring before she comes here, and then nobody else is doing anything.
Yep. All right. Well, Elaine, thank you. Hey, are you planning on going to TNA Lockdown, coming to Nashville in April?
I don't think so. I won't be. I don't like Nashville, so it's not TNA. It's just I don't like Nashville.
Wow, dang, that's interesting. All right. Well, thank you very much for that call, Elaine, and thank you for waiting patiently on hold as long as you did. Thank you, Elaine, very much. David, I happened to catch those comments, and I'll address you off air. Let's go to our final caller of the evening, who is calling us from the 517. Caller from the 517, your name and location, please. We were doing so good, David. Everyone's been following direction, paying attention. Those who indicated they wanted to speak have been able to speak.
Where's the 517?
I don't even know, nor do I care anymore. Let's go to the 614. Caller from the 614, you're live.
Hey, guys, it's Adam from Columbus.
Hello, Adam.
I just wanted to make two quick comments since you guys are running short on time. The first thing I wanted to mention that the video that ran during Jericho's segment on the highlight reel, I noticed that all the clips seem to be from his heel moments in the company. Smashing Sean's face in the Jeritron, his debut, winning the Undisputed title. Those were all heel moments.
Well, when did he do anything substantial as a face? Exactly. I don't think he really ever did.
That's a very good point. And
I think what they did was show highlights, the highlight reel, which, again, I just got the irony of how funny that whole segment was now. But the highlight reel, what they showed were the highlights of his career, the big moments, if you will, his time in WWE. And I would say the closest thing he was to a good guy that was shown tonight was when he did make that debut in Chicago in August of 1999, which quickly turned him heel because he was opposite The Rock.
Yeah, that you made a very good point. He never really did anything substantial as a babyface. And the other thing I wanted to point out, I was kind of shocked that they had Michael Cole mention Johnny Ace's run in New Japan. as he was coming down to the ring. I just thought that was kind of weird.
Yeah, it did catch my ear as well, and thank you very much for that call, Adam from out in Columbus. It did catch my ear as well, but it was more of when Nicole said he's a former world champion, he definitely needed to say something to explain that, and then saying he's a former New Japan champion. I think it led more to the comedic nature of Laurinaitis' character than anything else. Well, that's a show. That's this week's Monday Night Meltdown. I want to thank everybody for joining us. I want to remind you that we will be back on Thursday with Sudden Impact Radio. Friday, Be the Booker. Saturday, Prime Time, where we have more tickets to give away for WWE's Elimination Chamber pay-per-view coming to Milwaukee's Bradley Center. And then on Sunday, all day long, starting at noon Central, we look back at the 2007, building up to the 2011 WWE Royal Rumbles and special episodes only available at PWRshow.com. And then the stream returns at 9 o'clock p.m., right here on Blog Talk Radio, live broadcast coverage of the WWE Royal Rumble as it happens, followed by the post-show, which is the wrap-up show of the Royal Rumble. And between all that, we're going to be live down at the Horny Goat Hideaway. All of our great fans in the southeastern Wisconsin area can join us for GLCW Wrestling. David, how about a highlight of some of the matchups we're going to see Sunday at the Horny Goat Hideaway?
Well, we're going to see Rhino there. Then we're going to see the big, dance-off between Scotty 2 Hottie and Bobby E. The lovely and talented, gorgeous George will be there, and Damian Nelson versus Kevin Thorne in a rematch.
I'm not wrestling. I'm retired. Lloyd's of London would not. You should see the rates that they're trying to charge now to insure my face. I can't afford it.
You should have seen the rates I got charged for cinnamon and spice last week, and we didn't even use them.
Rumor has it you did end up using them.
They're paid for. Come on.
That's all Sunday at the Horny Goat Hideaway, and stick around and watch the WWE Royal Rumble for free. And really, it's an atmospheric event, one which you definitely want to watch on the Midwest large television screen. The Royal Rumble, it's going to be fun with hundreds of other wrestling fans. We've got prizes, by the way, more PWR prize packs to give away Sunday at the Horny Goat Hideaway for that big Royal Rumble free view, so be sure to come on down, including some more tickets to WWE Elimination Chamber free, given away by the Pro Wrestling Report. So, I want to thank Linda, Dwayne, Meathead Matthew, everybody else for joining us here on the program tonight. We'll see you again on Thursday for Sudden Impact, and then Friday for Be the Booker. This has been Monday Night Meltdown on Blog Talk Radio. Thank you so much for tuning in.